Cool. So it's 6:31. We will call the meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Montgomery Selectboard. First order of business is to review and make any changes to the agenda. Are there any additions or changes to be made to the agenda?
I don't see any.
I have a small request from the Playgroup for use of the PSB building.
Okay. Add for discussion. Yep. Just remind me at the end if I forget to circle back up to that.
Sure.
Cool. All right, if there are no other changes to be made to the agenda, we'll move on to item number 2 for tonight, which is review and approval of the September 13th minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the September 13th minutes as written?
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from Suzanne,
I'll second it.
and we have a second from Mark. Is there any further discussion on the minutes of September 13th?
September 13th,
September 13th?
not December.
Sorry, September 13th. Better not be December yet. Jeez. All right, hearing no other discussion, we'll vote. Because Emily is joining remotely tonight, all votes are going to be roll call votes. So we'll start with Leanne.
Abstain.
Abstain. Suzanne.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Emily.
Aye.
Charlie, aye. Motion carries and the minutes have been approved. Great. So with that, we're going to move into Public Works. So the hope for tonight's Public Works discussion is kind of to prime the pump for kind of a big planning discussion around, work plans and prioritizations for the, the roads, thinking about Public Works there, but also the Water Commission. This is the first regular meeting we've had of the board since we've made some pretty big changes. We've brought Mark on as Public Works Director to head up the work out of that department. And we've also formally decided not to renew the contract with Simon Operation Systems, which is going to bring our water system management all under, in-house. So to that end, it's a great time to sit down and start thinking about kind of what do we need to do, what is the plan to do it, and then how do we set some benchmarks to kind of measure success as we move forward. So the goal tonight isn't to leave here with that plan. It's more just to kind of start brainstorming, strategizing, having a conversation around, what do those look like?
After working there 3 weeks, I have more understanding what needs to be done too.
So the first thing I just want to frame in terms of, board and staffing framework, we are the elected select board, 5 individuals in the town of Montgomery. Mark is now the director of the Public Works Department, so he is also an employee of the community. And as such, it is important to kind of just remember what hats people are wearing in these discussions, and especially in things that get brought to a vote of the board. And so the framework that we've worked out and agreed upon is, Mark is here participating as a full member of the board, also bringing information in from the Public Works Department. He'll continue to remain at the table for all of those discussions. Mark is still going to continue to vote on matters of kind of substance around projects and things like that. But Mark will abstain from is voting around anything that has to do with the budget related to the department itself. So anything that relates to the Public Works budget and things pertinent to that, Mark will be abstaining from those votes. So just wanted to clarify that as we move forward and jump into this. So first up is roads and bridges. I guess what I'd like to do is start with Mark, just offering kind of some reflections, as Mark said, 2 or 3 weeks in now to the work. Would love to hear how things are going, kind of, what's front of mind with everything, and then we can kind of shift into this kind of looking forward conversation. So, Mark.
So this is kind of what we're working on right now. We started today for the municipal roads general permit work on Reagan Road and North Hill. Today we cleaned some ditches on Reagan Road tomorrow we replace 2 culverts, cross culverts on Reagan Road, and do some ditching on Reagan. That should take care of Reagan Road. And then we move to North Hill to kind of continue the project we've been working on the last couple of years for the same grant. There was another section of the hill that needed to be stone lined, so that's going to be, we're working on that the rest of the week, into next week if we need to. And so that should take care of the Mr. Road general permit for 2021. We have till October 31st to get it done, so we should be fine getting that done. Then I have, for the same municipal road general permit for 2022, I met with Bethany for this one, and we looked at Black Falls, going up Black Falls on the left, and it looks like we're gonna, next year's project is gonna be trying to, clear that out and make the ditch wider on that side, and, try to help with the water situation on that hill, and then see how far we can go up that hill.
Yeah.
I mean, these grants are up to 20,000, and the town usually gets awarded like 17.5, and then our share is usually like 4 or 5,000.
Yep.
But what it is the stormwater grants compliance status. By 2023, Montgomery has 816 total segments in town of this hydraulically connected segments that are high priority on this permit. So there's 46 segments that have been incomplete data so far. So I think, like all the FEMA work we did last year, some of those segments were part of this. So Bethany's going to come out and we're going to look at all the segments
So segments, by segments mean like a
segments
portion
are
of
like
the-
high priority areas, like the
Okay.
hills where the water, more erosion into
Okay.
brooks and stuff, and that's what this whole program is about.
Yeah.
And we have to comply with this, so that's why they've given us this grant money to help fix these areas.
And this is
Because-
the same grant money we used when we did North Hill the last time?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now we're just finishing North Hill, and then we'll start on Black Falls.
Okay, cool, thanks.
Yeah. And so that, that project should be taken care of before the deadline, and
Okay.
I'll get the paperwork together, and we're keeping track of everything right now. This is my first real grant working on, so it's, Bethany's been helping, and Sean Coleman, so
Great.
we'll get that done. And also today, we started the Longley Bridge project, bank stabilization project. Saying I'll just start working on that today. I went over about 2 o'clock, and they had already had almost 25, 30 loads in there. And they did almost over 100 feet, about 150 feet. So we're figuring the 50 loads will go almost 200 feet. It'll kind of do that whole corner.
Good.
And he's gonna, I asked him about the end, so it wouldn't wash around where you start in, so he's gonna make like a toe there. He said usually that's what they do with these, and so he'll make a toe on that end so the water won't come around and go behind the stones that are there.
Good.
Okay.
So that's going well. I mean,
So the 50 loads, just to clarify, the 50
Yeah.
loads, that was what was in the initial quote, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then we were gonna do the 50 loads, and then we're gonna reevaluate and see if we wanted to go any farther. Yeah, that was the 50 loads for 31,000 installed.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow, for 50 loads to get us to like 150 feet.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah. So, looking at the estimate from the engineers for the project, so they're looking at, what, 240,000, 250,000 for the project next year. I think they're kind of in the ballpark, because I
Yeah.
think they're looking at doing 500 feet. So, looks like, I was kind of wondering about that when we first started getting estimates, but
Yeah.
it looks like they're in the ballpark for the project.
And the cost per cubic yard of material that we're seeing sounds like
It's comparable.
It's comparable to what's in the Du Bois King.
Yeah,
So that's good, because one of the concerns
Yeah.
was that they were speccing the estimate too low on the cost. So using what we're getting now, we kind of worked backwards to figure out what they have versus what we're so we can compare it, and it looks good, so we're not looking at potentially underestimating the cost of materials.
Yeah, so hopefully this holds everything together and you know, get us through another season.
Yeah.
Not till next spring, and hopefully the project is happening.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Yeah.
told the contractors that put bids in that there will be a major project next year, so I'll let them know when the bidding, you know, to put in bids on the big project,
Yeah,
when that comes together.
great.
And then the public safety building parking lot, we repaired that, and I think we'll be fine, you know, for the winter up there, and then next year we can budget for it. What we really need to do up there is dig down like a foot and take everything right off, and then put in some nice, like the stone we just did, to make a better base. The material under that is not very good.
Yeah.
So that would be the, you know, we can do that ourselves, we can just rent an excavator, and we can take that off, and then get it all ready for paving, and then just get somebody to come in and pave. And,
You don't have to compact anything.
what's that?
You'll have to compact anything you put in.
Oh, yeah, we will. St. Albans have a roller, so we can compact everything.
Yep, great.
That's what we did put in, it seems to be holding well.
Yeah, no, I think the stuff that got put in now, it looks great. It's definitely it's meeting the needs for the moment. And just to recap for those joining us at home, right, like we had planned to pave that lot this summer. We paused that because we needed money to put towards the temporary fix on Longley Ridge Road. And so that's what we've done. We've essentially taken the money that was earmarked for paving, shifted it to the temporary work, or the temporary fix on Longley Bridge, done the temporary fix up there. So now we will look at paving next year in the FY '23 budget.
And then the building up there, last Thursday, Scott and I pressure washed the building and tried to do a little maintenance on the outside.
Great.
There was some siding falling off and stuff, and so we went around the building and kind of tried to clean up the building some. And that's what we'll keep checking every building and, you know, try to do a little bit of maintenance on them when we have time.
Great.
Between everything else. Then the plan for this fall, we have the sand pile done. So now we usually put like 75 loads of gravel up in the fall. So we're working on that, and then Billy's coming in probably next week or the week after to do a final grading. Every time in the fall you do like a final grading, you take the crown down so that when you're plowing, the crown in the road is not so high. So Billy's planning on coming in to do the final grading on all the roads.
Great.
And we'll see if we can get some of the class 4s done at that time when he comes in. We'll see how the weather is. And then I want to get at least 20 loads of the ledge that we didn't have last year, so that if mud season is real bad, we've got some stockpiled, so we aren't paying outrageous prices in the spring for it.
Yeah.
I've just got to figure out where I can pile it, but we're going to try to get some of that in. And as far as the trucks, Mark's truck needs to go into Valancourt's. It needs some work on the sander. Scott's truck, big truck, has already gone in, so that one's all set. They put a new bed chain in it and everything, so. And then we just have to change tires over on the trucks.
Great.
We'll be getting a bill on the loader. We just had to put today, had to put a new turbo in the loader, so that went. So it started acting up. It would shut down and everything. So then I called Nortrax, and they said, yep, it's the turbo, but luckily they had one on the shelf, so they came right up and installed it. So hopefully that's all taken care of. We've had some issues with that this year.
Yeah,
So,
great.
and let me think. The other issue is, you know, Mark's going to be going out in November,
Yeah,
and I've talked to John Nutting, and he's willing to do this little truck route, you know, the small truck. I mean, he can drive the big one too, and then I'll do Mark's route with the big truck.
okay,
And I figured it'd be easier to find somebody for the smaller truck than the big truck.
yep,
And then John can jump in the big truck if Scott and I are out. He's, you know, he can do that.
okay,
He's going to confirm with me another week or so, but if he can't do it, I've got a couple other people kind of lined up, so we
Great.
can get through that. And, what do you think? I think that's it for now.
Great. So when Billy comes back to do this last round of grading before the fall, is the team gonna try to use that as a training opportunity too?
Yeah.
So try to get out with Billy to
Yeah,
get.
Scott and I will probably get out and try to work with Bill,
Okay,
kind of watch him and try to start doing some,
great,
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. We get this grant work behind us and then we can start working on that.
Yep,
We almost missed out on this grant because I didn't realize it was due by this year.
by the end of October.
So we managed to, we'll manage to get it done,
Great,
yeah. But if anybody sees any, issues on the road, just, let me know.
yeah,
Then another issue we just had is road signs. The Nutting Road was gone like a week ago, the sign was gone. And then I went around the roads on last Thursday, just checking roads because we had a rainstorm. And there's 3 other, the Nutting Road, the Gibu Road, Rushford Valley Road, and Amadon Road, signs are all missing.
And
They're all
Creamery
gone.
Bridge Road.
Huh?
Creamery Bridge Road.
Creamery Bridge is gone too now?
Yeah,
That was there last,
there hasn't been a Hill West side one all summer.
at the base of Hill West?
No, on the end of Creamery Bridge on Hill West.
oh,
Okay.
well, I better,
And then, the one on the West Hill side.
There's no Creamery Bridge on the West Hill, okay.
oh, okay. I'll add that on the list.
I was thinking about making one.
Yeah, that's the, yeah,
So I don't know what's going on with that, but I've had Liz order them all and
Okay.
try to get them back up.
great,
Wish I could electrocute them
yeah,
or do something, so
something like that.
it
Just
gets a little
grease 'em.
expensive, but I mean, it's a safety issue too, because, the ambulance comes into town.
Yeah,
Trying to find a road, so that's why I hurried up and had Liz, so we'll get those back up as soon as we get them,
yeah, great.
so.
There's no puffer road sign.
There's a Puffer Road sign, I think I saw it.
Well, it's handcrafted because the
Oh,
town one
God.
gets stolen all the time.
Well, tell Eric to stop stealing it.
There hasn't been one since I've lived here, but there's a wooden sign if that
Wow.
suffices.
Okay,
I think, okay,
we can work on getting a formal one.
yeah, yeah. See if we can add it to the list.
Yep. All right. So, you covered coming into winter, John Nutting is gonna be, stepping in to help
Yeah,
when
hopefully.
Mark's out for surgery. Sounds like we're getting well situated with materials for the winter, as well as starting to stockpile some stuff for the spring. Because that is something that, I wanna definitely flag as we get into winter towards the spring, just so that, while we can't control what's gonna happen weather-wise, at least we can try to be prepared so that,
Wow.
worst case scenario, if what happens last year happens again, we at least
Yeah,
know how to move.
yeah,
With that,
yeah,
is,
I'm thinking we might be able to even put some stone up by the water plant, because usually when we carry that stone, we don't put a full load on, so
Yeah.
we could come back through the bridge. We could stockpile it up there,
Okay,
out of the safety zone, and just trying to find a place, because the yard's kind of tight.
yep, great.
At least we got some sitting there, so that if we get in a situation again, we've got some material on hand.
Awesome.
did, anything ever happen with that proposed pipeline for Canes up on Regan Road? Remember they had talked about running a line?
Oh, yeah, he's got that all done.
Okay.
He's got the line under the road, he did that a couple weeks ago.
Oh, okay.
So the lines, that's all taken care of.
So they won't have
Yeah.
those big sap trucks? through
No,
them this
no,
year?
not so many,
Cool.
no. No, I think he just still has to haul it like a little ways up the road to that tank, but it's not gonna be,
Small tank, he's gonna have to haul.
but he won't have to go up and down the hill with the truck.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he did that a couple weeks ago. For,
125 feet of the line in.
Yeah.
$10,000 for the line alone.
Yeah, yeah. And then he's still got to run it all the way down. the main
There,
road.
he did leave an opening for Consolidated to do their work on the right hand, on the west side of the road. Charlie, you may get a request to lean on Consolidated about getting the work on that. They're kind of.
I can-
Do they have,
Yeah, I'm not doing it in a timely manner.
do they have pending work they're trying to do? Like what's, do they have work that's pending that they're trying to do, or?
There's work there that they have to do, they have to run a line in, the line is exposed for them, they have to put one of those posts outside that the guys love to hit to the moor.
Oh,
You know,
yeah,
off in the back of the woods, and they have to run a line into the conics, up to be used in the conics box.
Okay.
yeah. I can give him a call too.
But you may
Yeah.
get a request to
Yeah.
lean on them a little
I'm
bit.
happy to yell at Consolidated any chance I get. I don't think it does much good, but I'm happy to yell at it.
Yeah,
Speaking of that, they're running a new, just a conduit right now down along Fuller Bridge Road.
Yeah,
From the main line, from the town line down to the Green Mountain Road.
okay,
ECI is doing the job. They're boring most of it, so they're going into the ground.
great.
So they're putting in like a 3-inch conduit, a line down through, so they've been working on that too.
Great, and that's gonna extend a conduit from the
Well-
Richford side down the hill?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
and do you know, are they planning on, what are they planning on putting in the conduit?
I think it's just communications.
Just comms, okay,
Yeah, yeah, I'm not sure. He said it'd be a little while, but
okay,
the line, they're getting the line in now, so,
okay,
yeah,
good.
yeah, so that's happening too.
So anybody have any questions for Mark on the stuff that he's covered so far about kind of, you know, immediate things on the horizon in the next month or two, and then things looking out towards the winter and the spring?
It sounds like everything is well in place.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been trying to get everything lined up.
We had talked about getting like some sort of existing inventory put together
Oh,
for the water, but that's.
Yeah,
that's-
we'll hop to water.
and
and-
I also, I
Sorry.
think you mentioned like you wanted like a contact list and all that. I've got that.
Okay.
We've got one already, so I just have to update it. You know,
Good.
like for all contacts for like Avery and, you know, whoever,
Yep,
say the truck breaks down, we, who to call
Yeah.
to come in and snowplow. And
great,
We've got that list, I just need to update it and
good.
fix, yeah, contact list.
So, thinking grants and projects, so next year, looking at continuing with the Muni road grants like you talked about.
And then I talked to Bethany about the Better Back Roads program, which we were denied this year. That's for up on Hill West, right, that dip right past Charlie Carpenter's camp. And Bethany told me that she thinks the biggest problem with that was the estimates for what it was gonna cost and everything. Michael kinda didn't get very good estimate together on it, so she's gonna work with me and we're gonna try to get a better, you know, a better try on it, get a better estimate and try to get a little better. So hopefully we could get that approved next year too.
Great.
So,
Looking at 2020. Okay,
Larry,
Yeah, Larry.
Grant program that we have for the roads.
there's quite a few. There's the Better Back Roads, there's this Municipal Road Grants and Aid Program, and
there's the AOP, Aquatic Organism.
then there's V-Trans, there's a $175,000 grant for Class 2 roads that we're eligible for like every 5 or 6 years. We usually use that for like paving Fuller Bridge or doing a big culvert. And then there's, I think another 75,000 that we're due every few years to do like major projects like big culverts or anything on Class 2 or 3s. Mostly Class 2s. That's what those programs are for. So those are the programs. Yeah.
Great. So, one thing it would be interesting to kind of, to do with the crew and the garage is to, we've got kind of near term and then next year kind of stuff, but, it would be interesting to sit down and maybe not even trying to prioritize it yet, but just put on the whiteboard, like, what are other things that we need to get done, things that have been put off, culverts we know that need work.
Yeah, that's one thing I'd like to do is go around with the, we have a culvert wash, you know, it's a flower, but we can use it to clean out culverts.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do is start going around when we have time and, you know, cleaning out culverts and then inspecting them so we can kind of prioritize, you know, which ones need to be replaced. We have a culvert inventory which has a lot of that on it. But
Do you know when the last time the culvert inventory was updated?
it was done 2016,
Okay,
I think.
great, so yeah, it'd be
Yeah.
good to put that kind of on the radar for, you know, the coming year to update the culvert inventory, so
Yeah,
as opportunities come up, we know what projects we need to kind of jump on and do.
yeah. Yeah, I think it was done then,
Okay.
yeah.
And then just thinking forward another year, and maybe we don't know yet, but, you know, we're looking at finishing North Hill, we're looking at Black Falls Road, next year. Do we have like a kind of a list of what other roads we want to kind of tackle with that kind of work?
I guess what I gotta do is get with Bethany and then we gotta kind of, there's a map with all those sites on it.
Yeah,
So what we really need to do is go around and just, like, inspect all those sites and then see how many more we need to really do. Because I think a lot were done last year with the FEMA money from October 31st. So we may have a lot of spots already done. And then we'll see what we haven't got done. Pretty much Reagan Road is complete, will be complete after this. There was just one more little segment.
okay. But cross-checking kind of what we had versus what was done with FEMA to make sure we're all up to date.
Because I think we're supposed to have most of this done by 2023.
Yep.
Those segments, so
Okay, great.
I think we're in pretty good shape.
Good.
Larry has it.
Yeah, Larry, go ahead.
There is one culvert on the Reagan Road that was repaired. There's a separated culvert, the middle road,
Mhm.
and it was repaired during the mud season by just putting a rock over the separation and backfill over it.
Oh, okay,
And
that's,
that's the one right near the end of Anita's driveway, just south end of the driveway,
oh, yeah,
okay?
I think they told me the rest of the culvert looked good, I'm not sure. It was just the,
Culvert didn't look good, but separated about that far.
Yeah.
Right in the middle of the road.
oh, okay,
Great.
And
yeah,
they put a rock over it because they had other priorities when they had to get it fixed.
yeah,
Temporarily.
yeah, I'll look at that one,
Okay, great.
yeah.
Awesome. Well, it sounds like we've got some good kind of immediate, intermediate, and long-term things that we'll be thinking about and addressing as we try to put together this kind of, you know, work plan, looking at the next year or two. So that's
Yeah.
a great start. So hopefully this will be something we can kind of keep running and kind of make it iterative, and we'll go back and
Yeah,
see what's coming off and put more things on so that we're all kind of looking at the same game plan here.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
great.
yeah.
Any last questions for Mark before we hop to buildings and grounds and then water?
No, no.
All right. If nothing else, we can move to buildings and grounds now. Just a quick update on the 98 Main Street location. So October is the 1 year out marker for the Postal Service's lease expiration. I did send an email to our local contact there just to basically flag that it's 1 year out. We haven't heard anything from the post office in a year and a half. Haven't had any constructive conversation with them in probably 6 years, but that we are still anxious to work with them to ensure that we continue service in the community. Also tried to make it very clear in the email that if this is some sort of plan to let it slide until the lease expires and then basically make an exit from the community, that's not going to work for us. So I did get a response back from Tim just saying message received, she'll forward it. So I don't know, maybe this is when they're going to come to the table and work with us, who knows? But just want to put that marker out there for the record that, you know, the end of October is going to mark a year until their lease expires.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Emily, did you want to add something or?
Hey, Charlie. Yeah, I'm not sure that it matters too much, but in the email, the building is referred to as 91 Main Street.
Oh, My bad.
So,
Hopefully they know
I
where
just-
their lease
I
is.
just don't want them to have wiggle room.
Yeah, I can,
Yeah, I just don't want them to have wiggle room to say it wasn't the right building referred to.
no, that's a great point, and I can always follow up with them to ensure that we had that clear. 91 Main Street is this building, isn't it? No, 91 Main Street is, the J Cloud Cyclery. I used to live there, I should know what the address is.
That's why it sounds so
Yeah, I'm like,
familiar.
that was my old address. Sorry, maybe it was a Freudian slip or something. Yeah, okay, cool. So anyway, just a quick update there. Mark did note that, they'd done some work on the public service building, with some repairs to the lot, as well as some maintenance to the building itself. I don't have anything else for buildings and grounds at this point. Mark, do you have anything else on your radar for?
I think I got a hold of Doug, and he still has to hook up some electrical for the second furnace in this building, and he's gonna get that done right off. And then this building should be set for the new furnace.
Great,
Everything working on that. And then there was a light out at the garage that he's gonna be fixing. So,
okay,
a few little things. So we're
Great.
probably gonna have to look at, usually we close this building in, when do we close it? Usually like November, October?
yeah, typically we close it up after Halloween, because there is sometimes a Halloween party in here.
Yeah.
This year, I don't believe there'll be a Halloween party. The Arts for the Park dinner has been canceled. There was another dinner the week previous to that, which has also been canceled here. So what we might want to do is just check with Liz and see when it's reserved for, and then just make a call and shut it down mid-October if there's no scheduled
Okay.
use.
Well, I'm just saying, where our meetings, we'll have to move back.
Yeah,
to-
we're gonna have to move up
Yeah.
to the PSB.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
And
okay,
again, we've been here primarily because it allows for more distancing with people.
Yeah.
But once we shut the building down, we're gonna move back up to the public service building.
okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
public safety building, sorry.
yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So with that, we can move on to Water Commission.
What about the renovation committee?
Oh, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sorry, PSB, I have my notes under the wrong thing. The renovation committee has had their first meeting. They have gotten the ball rolling on things. I'd hope to have a actual, written update from them.
I'll try to make it to the next meeting.
Okay, great.
Yeah. 'Cause they were saying something about, they may need to put a sprinkler system in the building and something like that, but
Okay,
I don't really see an issue with that. There's a 4-inch line already coming in the building, so.
Okay, great.
We should be able to do it.
great. Yeah, and hopefully we can get a more formal report from that committee for our next meeting as to where they're at with things.
Yeah,
So Water Commission, same general conversation here as we had around the roads, just kind of thinking about status updates on projects, but then thinking about kind of, what are things that we want to do next? I know Suzanne mentioned kind of the inventory work at the plant.
Sorry, I got a little ahead of myself.
No, that's
with
okay.
that.
So like thinking
Yeah.
about things like that, the inventory work at the plant to understand kind of what do we have there for parts and things like that. So
yeah.
I guess we'll start with just any kind of project status updates that we've got.
I mean, as far as the water plant, I'd like to look into selling that filter press we have for the sludge. And there's another tank in there that we could sell, because we're not using it. When the plant was designed, it was designed for 75,000 gallons a day, so they figured the manganese would build up over, a couple of years, and then we'd run it through this filter press. But actually, we're only doing like 20 to 25,000 a day, so it takes almost 7 or 8 years to even build up that manganese in that tank. So it doesn't really, not using that piece of equipment, it just sits there, and there's a nice compressor in there too, a nice big compressor.
Yep.
And then last time we did it, we just had the septic truck came and they just pumped it out.
Okay.
Because it's just the sludge in the bottom. So they used the, sanitary hose and pumped it out. And that was like, not too many years ago, and the plant, it was almost 10 years since the plant was in.
Okay.
So I'm thinking if we can get that stuff out of there, then we can make like a little corner for storage and, inventory and like a little workshop, a little workbench in there, so there's really not too much room right now. And
Okay.
so I'll try to look around and see, put it out there, that filter press and stuff, and
Okay.
see if we can just get rid of that. And the other project for the water was getting that electric line up to the Reagan Road pumps, reservoir, getting a new electrical line up there, either underground or above ground. I think we'll probably go underground up to that reservoir.
Okay.
So I'll get a hold, I think Ross was supposed to be getting some quotes and stuff on it, but I haven't heard anything, but
Okay.
I'll get a hold of Vermont Electric and see. I think we can do it in our right of way,
Okay.
going up through, and then dig it down. Since ECI is right up by my place, it might be, just talk to them and maybe we can just bore it right up through. You know, we'll see how much that would cost compared to digging it. I mean,
Yeah.
since they're right there, you know, that might be the easiest way.
Yeah, at least get an
I mean-
estimate from them.
Yeah, get an estimate that way and then digging it. So I'll try to look into that. And then the other things for the water would be just those issues I brought up and see if they're gonna get repaired, you know, if things aren't, you know, we'll plan on fixing those things if Ross hasn't got to them
Okay.
to get things back in shape. And then Brent Durano's coming, I think the 28th and 29th and 30th to do the hydrant flow testing again.
Okay,
So I
great.
told him Scott and I can help him with that, get that completed.
Great.
And then I want to put, like for the budget, I want to put the numbers together of how much it costs for that hydrant we just put in.
Yeah.
So we can budget for, you know, another hydrant replacement next year and try to do at least one a year, to try to start replacing them instead of having them all go at once.
Okay. And do we have a list of all the ones that need replacing?
Well, we will, once we go through and do it again.
With Brent?
Yeah, with Brent, but we did repair a bunch this spring. Mike McDougal came and repaired a bunch, so. But every time you go back through, you always find something, so.
Okay.
We'll have more of an idea of that once he gets done flushing. And then we usually pump them out for winter.
Yep.
Get them ready for winter.
Okay.
And then there is some maintenance and stuff on the buildings that need to be done too. So
Okay.
it's a little hard with Scott right now because he's taking his class sometimes twice a week, so.
Yeah.
Trying to work around, you know, that. He has signed up for the exam. So everything should be set there.
Okay,
And then
great.
once he does the exam, most of the time it's like a year and a half under a licensed operator, but he already had the class 2, so he won't need that time. He'll just be
Yep.
licensed.
Scott's the guy that I started driving the little truck tonight, with Mark as the passenger.
Yeah.
Scott. Yeah, that's Scott Obit. Yeah.
Nice guy, see
Yeah. He's been working well. Yeah.
Any updates on, from SOS on, I think you mentioned some of the final repairs they had to do. One of the bigger things was just the inspection of the tanks with their drone. We had
Did
asked,
we ever sign the contract for that? I don't think we did.
I think we said that,
Did we ever?
I think we verbally said that looks good, let's
Yeah,
schedule
but
it.
I think we need to sign that,
Oh, okay.
the contract that they wanted.
I guess I will go back and look at that.
I think they wanted that signed before they would do it.
Okay,
I think it was like 3,200 or something.
yep.
Yeah.
I will highlight that and take a look tomorrow to make sure that we didn't miss that. Yeah. I didn't
Yeah,
know
I'm
they
pretty
wanted
sure
a
that's
copy.
what's, then we can schedule that.
Okay, great. All right. So this is a great start, kind of in terms of what we're talking about with our work plan and kinds of things on our immediate, intermediate, long-term list. So, you know, we'll kind of take this as a starting point, and
Yeah.
then we'll continue to kind of work through it as we go. And, you know, I think one of the things that came to
Everything
light.
won't happen at once, we'll just
Yeah.
take it in stages. And
No, we'll take it in stages, but I think one
Yeah.
thing that Brent kind of pointed out when he was here during some of our discussions was that I think the board needs to take a more kind of active role in assessing kind of where we are with work that needs to be done. We're aware of it,
Well, I
we're
think-
monitoring it.
You know, we should, you know, once we take it over, we should have a meeting up there. So
Yeah.
then everybody can see the place.
Yeah,
Once
exactly.
we get it cleaned up and, you know, we get things going again. We used to have a meeting there every year at the water plant, so that.
Yeah, maybe you
everybody
can
could
schedule
see.
a spring meeting up there.
Yeah,
We used to do it, and there used to be like a barbecue associated with it, I think. So,
I know somebody might have some meat.
someone might have some meat. Great. All right, anything else under Water Commission at this time that we wanna hit on?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, great. Excellent. So moving on under Public Works, item E here is just the Longley Bridge TAP program. So Mark already provided an update on this. St. Andrews moved in. They're executing the emergency fix that we voted on at the last meeting. That's moving forward. Longer term, we're now working on just getting some landowner agreements signed with the abutting property owners, finalizing the permits with the Army Corps of Engineers. We should have all those done this week. So basically just laying the groundwork so we can get in there.
That phase that was taking like 8 months has been completed.
Yeah, yep.
So now we can move on.
That work's done. The cultural artifact
That was-
analysis has been completed.
Yeah,
Whatever, the archaeological study has been completed.
yes.
So that's done. So that project is moving forward. That's pretty much the main update.
Yeah.
With that, that brings us to item 4 on our agenda, which is visitors. Larry, anything? Yeah. It's a crowded room, Larry.
All this mentioned, all these grants, are there ever grants available for class 4 roads?
Some of this, one of that program, the municipal road general permit, there is some spots on the class 4 roads that are eligible.
Have we ever applied for it?
We haven't, we've been trying to get the 3s done, but I think we're gonna have to go on the 4s. Yeah, I'm trying to look at the 4s now, we're gonna try and do some place on the 4s. Yeah, but there is some segments, I believe, on class 4s too to do. So that's gonna be part of the project.
That's something you follow in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went up and looked at the work that was done on the class 4, up by your place.
Didn't like it, huh?
No, it's fine. And they did a nice job. I can sign off on that. Yeah, they did.
Great.
Yes.
Before they get any further carried away,
Oh, yes.
some of them I can't control, you know.
No, well, they're doing a good job, so that's the main thing.
Yeah, they are. They're trying to do the right things, they are.
Yeah.
I have heard, not this because I haven't been around much, I've been around, but I've been busy.
Yeah.
But I heard a rumor that the Montgomery Bridge, the Tyler property is now closed, is that correct?
Yeah, it's been posted.
Is that correct?
It's been posted.
I just wanted to make sure I understood what was going on. Mentioned this going on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that takes care of my question. You guys have answered a whole lot. You have, I see, a lot of afternoon nap time involved.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, really. Yeah. Trying to keep everything going.
Doing
Yes.
a good job. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Larry.
Yeah.
All right, so that'll bring us into old business. First item up here is the ARPA appropriations, funding and planning. We have received our first installment of funds. These are the town funds. Those have come in and they are in the account dedicated for them. We have not received the county funds that we'll be getting. We're not sure exactly when those will come in, but we do expect them, I think, within the next 6 months.
I'm wondering if some of those funds will be, if we could use some of those funds for that electrical line to
Yep.
to the reservoir.
Yeah, so so the 3 things that we'd flagged so far,
Oh, okay.
the 3 things that we had flagged in the past for this were, so far, were the work at the public safety building, and whether any of those renovations and work there would qualify under the infrastructure provisions. We had flagged the wastewater / streetscape project as a potential place for funds that is subject to like how the rest of that budget shakes out with funding. And we'd also talked about, when this first came up, the electrical line at the reservoir, and if that would work for ARPA funds, because it does have to do with infrastructure and also public safety.
So can we look at any of that for roads too? I wonder.
Yeah, the roads, I don't believe under this one, the maintenance we can do. I think if it was a large infrastructure project dealing with the roads, then it might fly. So
Oh, okay.
if there's a significant infrastructure project that has to do with roads, road infrastructure, we can talk about it.
Okay. See what I can come up with.
Yeah.
Would that be like a large culvert or rock
It-
culvert?
don't
Yeah,
know,
it
could
would, it would have to be something, I think, outside the scope of some of these standard things that we're looking at and using.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to work through, like with VLCT, some of the VLCT, some of the clarifications around use, because the guidance we've gotten is kind of high level, but, you know, it doesn't get down to like, well, what about this scenario, does that fly?
Yeah.
So we'll continue to run ideas
I know.
up the chain.
I've heard some other towns are using it towards broadband too.
Yep.
There's.
Yeah, broadband is certainly one.
Yeah.
What I'd like to do, on this one is actually schedule a dedicated public engagement hearing, listening session for this.
Oh, yeah.
It's a ton of money. It's more money than the town's ever gotten in one shot, you know, from a source like this. And it's also completely backwards. I mean, typically we're saying, hey, we have this project. Can we go find money for that? This is the other way around. We're getting given money that we then need to go find a use for. So what I'd like to try to do is maybe our next meeting or the one after is actually schedule a dedicated like time for people from the community to come and let us know, like, what are things that's on your mind? How should we spend this money, basically?
Yeah.
So if that's okay, we'll look to schedule that probably in, October.
Yeah.
Would any part of the Longley Bridge project be,
I don't
well,
think so.
would it qualify at all?
I don't think so, and we're also tied in pretty deep to the TAP grant for that now,
Yeah.
so if we were to pivot from that, we would expose ourselves to having to pay back the
No.
money that's gone into it.
Oh,
Yeah.
So yeah, so if we can schedule something for October with this to get the community involved, get some more clarity on the projects that we've been discussing so that we can present those from a little bit more informed position, that would be good.
What's the time frame to use that money?
We've got, I want to say, a couple of years to use it, if
That's
not
what I thought.
3 years. There's something, I did hear something about some end of month deadline to clarify something. I think Erin's already done that, but I need to go back with her and make sure that all of our, Ts are crossed and Is are dotted, but I think we're in good position. And yeah, we have, I think it's 3 years to spend the money.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, great. So if there's nothing else on the ARPA funds, next up is just a quick update on the wastewater and streetscape projects. So the soil test pits that we talked about prior in the summer, those are wrapped up, and we're now waiting for the final report from Stone Environmental on each one of those sites. And those reports are going to basically say whether or not the material, the substrate there is suitable for what we need, and then will it provide the capacity that we need. So is it what we need material-wise? Is it big enough to provide the capacity we need for that individual site? So that report, I'm thinking we're going to have within the next 2 weeks. The next step from there is going to be doing some actual deeper soil boring. So going in and actually doing some deeper soil bores to kind of do a secondary follow-up on the test for this. That's going to require another round of contact with the landowners to make sure that we have permission to do it. It's also, playing the season and the weather. So we want to make sure that if we do any of those, we can do it after, the corn is off, after the last cut of hay is off, but before we get into any kind of wet and wild weather in the fall. The other part of that is just the funding for that phase, which I believe is coming through some of the revolving fund money that we had applied for. But I don't believe we have that in pocket yet. So again, we've tried to use these planning dollars to fund all of the work so far so that it's kind of that no risk capital should the project not advance, we're not paying it back. So before that next phase of the boring takes place, we also need to just clarify where we are with the funding so that we ensure that pot of funding is in place and can come through. To that end, we also did get approval today for, I believe it was for that loan, the forgivable loan, to do the water system testing
okay,
and
okay.
modeling.
Yeah.
So we did hear today that they have approved that loan. Again, it's a loan, but it's a forgivable loan.
Yeah.
It's a subsidy, really, to get that work done at no cost for the town.
Oh, okay.
So that has come through. So we can add that to our,
Water department, yeah.
yeah.
To your question of the class 4 roads for the grant, I just noticed right here, it says, see the class 3 road, they're high priority segments, and the standards for like the class 3 roads is 12/31/2025. Class 4 roads is 12/31/28. So that's why we're trying to get the 3s done first, and then we'll get to the 4s after.
I'll tell you why I asked the question, but I'll wait till the meeting is over.
Oh, okay,
Okay, I don't want to throw anybody under the bridge.
okay,
Wait for the mics to get turned on.
okay,
Great.
that's fine.
Last update on the wastewater streetscape projects are that, as everybody's aware, Senator Sanders did forward our CDS, or congressionally directed spending request. He approved it and forwarded it on to the appropriate committee. I believe it's the Interior Committee. I haven't had any word since, so I did reach out to Haley, who is one of his in-state staffers, to give us an update on where things stand there in terms of what we can expect. I know that other things that have come in through other committees have passed out by now. For example, things having to do with the Ag Committee have been passed out. They are tacked onto on the Ag Bill, which is now pending in the legislature. So I think if it comes out of committee, I think my understanding is this might get tagged to that infrastructure bill, which is currently being discussed in Congress. Not the massive trillion dollar one, but the smaller infrastructure bill, which hopefully will pass, especially if our stuff is attached to it. So that's the update there. Any questions on that?
Have they done any more work on the streetscape? I knew they were supposed to get on the ground and
Yeah,
start measuring things.
no,
Some of that.
they have not started to do any of that survey work.
Okay.
I have a call scheduled with the lead engineer on that part of the project to figure out where things are at. We do have the TAP grant in place to support that, and the grant end work with Linda is almost complete. We just needed to get back with V-Trans to answer some questions this week, but once that's finalized, that'll put the ball in Linda's court to start managing that process forward.
Yeah,
So she'll be our kind of go-to contact in keeping that ball rolling.
the biggest thing with the streetscape is if there's a way V-Trans can keep plowing the main road, that's
Yep.
the way we have to go.
Okay.
I mean, Bakersfield just did a bunch of upgrades on their roads and the state's still plowing it,
Yep.
so that's the biggest issue I see with that, is
Yeah.
to be able to make it so that V-Trans can still maintain the main streets.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've got, the next step there is gonna be a lot more on the ground work to figure out exactly what we have for space.
Well, once they start measuring,
Planning.
yeah.
And then we'll get into it. But yeah, there's a lot more in-depth conversations we gotta have around what it is we're looking to build, if anything,
Yeah.
when we put it back together. I'd hoped that we would be having those conversations this fall, but the process has just been so slow to roll, so
Yeah,
we'll get there.
okay.
So that's it for old business, unless anybody has anything else that they want to discuss under old business. All right, well, the only other item under new business is a funding request from Northwest Access TV, who again is joining us this evening. Thank you, everybody. What I'll do is I'll walk through this request. I don't know if this was actually emailed to the full board or not, but this was a request that came in towards the end of the summer from Northwest Access. And they were writing to inform us about a discussion that they're having moving forward about, coveraging school and municipal meetings at no charge. I'll just read this portion so that you can all have it. We are in search of some good faith funding for our community partners. As we have successfully done with 13 of our other boards in Franklin County, each has agreed to help offset a little financial instability that we face as a public access station. Federal regulation of the cable industry has changed, and Northwest Access TV revenue has leveled out and even started to decrease as a result. As I alluded, we are reaching out to our municipal boards to ensure that we continue to serve our local communities. With the changes in federal regulations, we are now asking Montgomery to contribute to the $3,775 annual cost of producing these meetings for your voters. We respectfully ask that $600 be included in your budget as a contribution towards the cost of continuing to provide these services. This amount is calculated at 50 cents per capita according to the 2010 census. Community Access TV is asking that we kick in to help support them. Typically what we do is we bring these up at the end of the year budget cycle, looking into the next year's budget. The one thing I did want to flag tonight for this discussion is that Northwest Access TV is also, as we were discussing a little bit prior to the meeting, offered assistance with enabling remote meetings. So one of the things we've talked about doing is trying to get a system whereby people can participate both in the room and via Zoom, and do it in a way that is functional and meets all the statutory requirements. And so Liz has a system that she sent some information on, which is kind of a standalone system we could look to, and Northwest Access has also offered to provide some assistance there as well, which would be, I believe, over and above kind of what we're talking about here for support. So what I'd like to do, if the board's okay with it, is reach back out to Paul and see if we can come up with a more concise framework of what that would look like and then what it would cost. And then we can bake that into our budget process looking into next year.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Well, I just wanted to float that by the board just as a means of bringing up the other part of it too. And with that, we're through our agenda.
I have a request from
Oh, that's right.
Montgomery
Thank you, thank you,
Playgroups.
thank you. So we had the added Montgomery Playgroup at the Public Safety Building. Do you wanna-
Yeah, with the weather getting colder, so they had originally scheduled to do tumble times at the school, but with the outbreaks that started, or not the outbreaks, but the concern around the new variant, they closed that session for the playgroups. This building's closed, the MCA is gonna close, they were wondering if they could use the Public Safety Building common room,
Okay.
community room, for like activities and playtime.
What day of the week is it?
It would be Fridays from 10 to 11. I believe it's just Fridays from 10 to 11. Maybe Mondays as well, but I'd have to circle back to Carmen and ask her.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think.
So,
Oh.
Suzanne and I guess everyone else, I had actually talked to Doug about that this afternoon because the information that I received about that request was that Marlene was telling people that the fire department told her that she couldn't use the space. I talked to Doug about it this afternoon. She never approached the fire department about using the conference room space for that purpose.
That's what I was wondering.
But my understanding is that the conference room does sort of like belong to the fire department, as far as like priority of use. And I knew that this conversation was going to come up, so I talked to Doug to get his thoughts about it. I think that he's not feeling like that's the appropriate use of that space for tumble time. It also sounded like when I went in and signed warrants this afternoon that the office staff in the public safety building felt like that would be super disruptive, and there's a lot of disruptions already from Marlene having her toddler there on a regular basis. I don't think that this is a decision that the board makes. I think that it's a decision that the fire department and the people that work in that building need to make. But I'm hearing from Doug after him spending quite a bit of time scraping slime and putty off of the walls and the floor of the conference room, that he's not feeling like that space is the appropriate space for kids groups, and that if they want to do that stuff, it needs to be in the library.
Thanks, Emily, for the background there. Yeah, I think what you flagged is kind of the nut of it, is that before we can make any kind of call on this, I think we need to loop in the fire department and the office staff, and to that end also the library. So I think what I'd recommend is that we do just that. You know, I can reach out to the fire department in kind of a formal capacity, and reach out to the office staff and the folks that work there, and then also reach out to Marlene as the librarian as to, you know, the potential use of the library space. And then once we have kind of, you know, formalized feedback from everybody, then we can kind of have a more informed discussion about it. So if it's okay, can we kick this to our next meeting?
Yeah, totally.
Okay.
I just,
Yep.
they'd asked me to bring it to the table.
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing it up. So yeah, so we'll gather some more kind of formal feedback from folks, and we will take this up at our next meeting.
Charlie, I wonder if there maybe just should be a direct conversation between Marlene and the fire department, because it sounds like that did not happen to begin with.
Yeah, I think there's some breakdowns in communication happening in that building on a day-to-day
It
basis.
might be good to have a facilitated conversation,
The
given
facilitated
that
conversation.
context,
Yeah.
that history.
That's not my department.
Yeah, so, yeah, I think there's some conversations that have to happen there anyway. I do think
I'll take care of
long-term,
that.
we are working towards a more clear-cut framework of actually separating the buildings through these renovations, so that we've got, you know, dedicated entrances and use spaces. But yeah, I do agree that there needs to be a better line of communication around that building and what happens there, as it relates to both things inside the building and outside the building. So duly noted. So that brings us through our agenda. So if there are no other questions, comments, discussion points, reactions, emotions, anything else, a motion to adjourn is always in order.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
We have a motion from Suzanne. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Oh,
I'll give it to Leanne. Second from Leanne. Great. If there's no further discussion, hearing none, we will vote. This is a roll call vote. Leanne,
aye.
Suzanne,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Emily,
Aye.
Charlie, aye. Motion carries, and the meeting adjourned at 7:34. Thanks for an efficient meeting, everybody.